Passion is a powerful force that can drive us to achieve great things, but it can also overpower us, taking control of our actions and emotions. When we talk about passion in this context, we're not talking about the kind of excitement that fuels creativity or ambition. Instead, we're referring to the intense, uncontrollable desire for something, anything, that can distract us from what truly matters. Imagine a fire that burns too hot, too fast. Initially, it brings warmth, light, and comfort, but if left unchecked, it can quickly turn into a destructive force, consuming everything in its path. That's what passion, if left uncontrolled, can do to us. It's like a wild wave crashing against a shore, overwhelming everything in its path. Now, why should we fight against passion like this? Because unchecked, it can lead us into temptation, making us lose sight of our purpose and the things that bring real meaning into our lives. It often brings a sense of urgency and desire that clouds our judgment. It pushes us to act impulsively, without considering the long-term consequences. For instance, when someone becomes obsessed with something, be it a relationship, a career goal, or even a desire for material things, their passion can quickly evolve into an addiction. What begins as a positive pursuit can turn into something harmful. That's why it's essential to recognize when our passion begins to dominate our thoughts and actions, leading us away from our core values and spirituality. The key here is balance. It's about understanding that passion, in its healthiest form, can be a motivating force, but when it takes over, it can lead us astray. We must learn to control it, focusing it on things that align with our values, our faith, and our deeper purpose. That way, passion becomes an ally instead of an enemy. Music has a way of speaking to us like no other art form. It transcends words, connecting directly to our hearts and minds, bringing out emotions that sometimes we don't even know we have. Think about the first time you heard a song that made you smile or feel something deep inside. Music is not just a collection of notes. It's a universal language that everyone, regardless of age or background, understands. From the soft melodies that soothe us to the upbeat tunes that make us want to dance, music has a unique power. It can remind us of past moments, bring clarity in times of confusion, and even heal wounds that we didn't know were there. For Albano and Romina Power, music wasn't just a career. It was their way of expressing their love, their passion, and their connection to the world. Their music was filled with emotion and authenticity. Their voices harmonized so perfectly that it felt as if their hearts were singing together. It wasn't just about the notes they sang, but the feelings they conveyed. Each song they performed was an invitation for the audience to feel the same emotions they themselves were experiencing. This connection through music created a bond between them and their fans that went far beyond entertainment. It became something deeply personal. In a way, music allowed them to share parts of their soul. And their success didn't come just from their talent, but from this raw, unfiltered connection. As we listen to their songs, we too are invited to experience the emotions they felt, to live in the moments they captured in their lyrics. Music is powerful because it connects us with something bigger than ourselves, something that resonates deeply, creating a sense of unity and understanding. The story of Albano and Romina Power is more than just a tale of two famous musicians. It's the story of two people who shared a deep connection that began on screen and blossomed into a real-life romance. It was 1967 when they first met. While filming the movie In the Sun, both were young and driven by their passions, but they couldn't have known that their encounter would spark a love story that would captivate millions. Albano, with his bold and daring personality, wasn't one to shy away from taking risks, even when it came to matters of the heart. During the filming, there was a scene where they were supposed to kiss, and Albano, with a playful yet strategic approach, kept making mistakes in the dialogue. Why? So he could repeat the scene and kiss Romina again. It was a clever move, one that allowed him to get closer to her, and before long their on-screen chemistry turned into something real. By 1970 they were married. Romina, only 18 at the time, and Albano, 27, had already become the perfect musical duo. Romina's beauty and Albano's powerful voice created a magical combination. Their performances were more than just shows. They were a celebration of their love, an extension of the deep bond they shared. On stage, they didn't just sing. They embraced, they smiled at each other, and they made it clear to everyone watching that what they had wasn't just for the cameras. It was genuine. Their music, with songs like Sempre Sempre and Libertà, resonated deeply with people around the world. They didn't just entertain, they became a symbol of love and unity. Fans weren't just captivated by their voices, they were drawn into the story of two people who had built something extraordinary together. Their love was tangible, and it radiated in every note they sang. Ilenia Carisi, the eldest daughter of Albano and Romina Power, was a young woman filled with dreams, ambitions, and a fierce desire to explore the world. Growing up in the public eye, Ylenia was no stranger to fame. But she wasn't defined by it. While her parents' love story and music captured the hearts of millions, Ylenia had her own path to follow. She wasn't content to simply live in the shadows of her parents' success. She wanted to create something uniquely her own. From a young age, Ylenia was curious, intelligent, and independent. She didn't want to follow a traditional route. She had an insatiable thirst for knowledge and new experiences. Studying literature at King's College in London, she showed exceptional promise. Her dream was to become a writer, someone who could capture the essence of life through her words, sharing the stories she experienced firsthand. Her parents, supportive as they were, could never fully understand Ylenia's desire for freedom. They were protective, perhaps too protective, but Ylenia's rebellious spirit led her to seek a different kind of life. She believed that in order to write authentically, she had to immerse herself in the world, meet new people, and live beyond the confines of what she knew. This restlessness within her soul would lead to a decision that would change everything. In 1993, at the age of 23, Ylenia made a bold decision that would forever alter the course of her life. She chose to take a year off from her studies and embark on a solo journey around the world. To her, this wasn't just a trip. It was a way to open her mind, to experience life in a raw and authentic way. She wasn't seeking luxury or comfort. She wanted adventure, the kind of adventure that would push her to the edges of the known world. Her parents, initially hesitant, eventually relented. Ylenia wasn't a child anymore, and they couldn't stop her from pursuing her dreams no matter how unconventional they seemed. With only a backpack and a journal in hand, Ylenia sold much of her possessions to fund her travels. She started her journey in Central America, spending several months in Belize before moving on to Mexico. But it was in the United States where her journey would take a dark turn. She arrived in New Orleans, a city famous for its vibrant jazz scene and colorful culture. However, New Orleans was also known for its crime and danger, especially in the early 1990s. Ylenia, ever the idealist, saw the city as a place rich with stories and inspiration for her writing. Little did she know, the very atmosphere of this city would eventually draw her into a world she wasn't prepared for. In January 1994, Ylenia called her parents to let them know she had arrived in New Orleans. The city, known for its music, culture, and historic French Quarter, seemed to be the perfect backdrop for her next adventure. However, the New Orleans Ylenia encountered was a far cry from the romanticized version she had imagined. It was a city filled with art and music, yes, but also plagued by poverty, drug addiction, and crime. At the time, New Orleans was one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. The streets that Ylenia wandered were filled with danger, but she was unaware of the risks that loomed around her. For Ylenia, it wasn't about fear, it was about living fully, about experiencing life in its most raw and unfiltered form. Yet, this thirst for experience would ultimately lead her into dangerous situations that would remain a mystery for years. Her last known location was the infamous French Quarter, where she was staying at a low-budget hotel. It was here, in the chaos of this colorful yet hazardous place, that Ylenia's life would take a tragic turn. Her adventurous spirit led her to the edge of a world where the lines between safety and danger blurred, but no one could have predicted what would happen next. After Ylenia's phone call to her parents in early January 1994, no one heard from her again. Days passed without any contact, and Albano and Romina began to grow desperate. At first they thought it was just a temporary lapse, maybe a lost connection or a technical issue. But as time went on and Ylenia remained unreachable, their concern grew into panic. Something was wrong. Immediately, the couple flew to New Orleans, hoping to find answers. They didn't know what they would discover, but they knew they had to act fast. The local authorities launched an investigation, but in a city as chaotic as New Orleans, finding clear answers proved difficult. At first, the police treated it as a missing person case, but as they dug deeper, they uncovered troubling signs. Ylenia had been staying at a rundown hotel with a man named Alexander Masekela, a street musician who was much older than her. He became the primary suspect in her disappearance, but there was no concrete evidence to link him directly to her vanishing. He claimed to have had no involvement, and although the police found Ylenia's belongings in his possession, her passport, her journal, and traveler's checks, this wasn't enough to make a solid case. Masekela had a criminal background, which made him a suspect, but without more evidence, the investigation was at a standstill. The suspicion surrounding Alexander Masekela grew as the investigation into Ylenia's disappearance unfolded. Masekela, a musician with a troubled past, had spent several days with Ylenia before she disappeared. Although there was no proof that he had harmed her, the connection between the two made him the primary person of interest. However, the police couldn't charge him with anything, and Ylenia's case seemed to be growing colder by the day. Albano and Romina, devastated by the lack of progress, believed Masekela held the key to their daughter's fate. Albano, in particular, became increasingly frustrated, unable to understand how their daughter, a beautiful and intelligent young woman, could have gotten involved with someone like him. The couple felt that the answers to Ylenia's disappearance were just out of reach, and they pushed for further investigation, trying to find something, anything, that could lead them to her. Despite their efforts, the case stalled. Masekela was briefly arrested for a past crime involving another young woman, but he was released due to lack of evidence. It was a devastating setback for Ylenia's parents, who were beginning to lose hope. Still, they refused to give up and continued searching for their daughter, even when it seemed like the world had moved on. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Albano and Romina's desperation grew. They couldn't understand how their daughter could just disappear without a trace. Ylenia had always been independent, but she wasn't the type to vanish without leaving some clue behind. Her parents knew that something had gone terribly wrong, and they couldn't simply stand by while the world moved on. Driven by love and a relentless determination to find their daughter, Albano and Romina pulled out all the stops. They hired private investigators, reached out to every contact they could think of, and even offered a reward for information that could lead to Ylenia's whereabouts. The media coverage surrounding the case gave it global attention, and it seemed that everyone from the public to the police was waiting for answers. However, despite their best efforts, the search proved fruitless. As months passed, every lead turned out to be a dead end. The couple faced a growing frustration as false tips flooded in, calls from strangers claiming to know where Ylenia was or to have seen her in some distant place. Each one was a false hope, and each one made the truth seem even more distant. It was a painful reminder that sometimes, no matter how hard you search, the answers may never come. As the search for Ylenia dragged on, the case became a magnet for rumors and false leads. Some people claimed to have seen her alive in various places, from distant cities to foreign countries. Others suggested she had joined a cult or was living under an assumed identity. Each new rumor brought a fresh wave of hope, only for it to be shattered once more when the truth was revealed. Albano and Romina were bombarded with these false claims. Some individuals, seeking fame or attention, made wild assertions about Ylenia's whereabouts. Others called with fake stories, convincing themselves that they held the key to solving the mystery. But as the weeks and months passed, it became clear that none of these stories were credible. Every false lead was like another cut to the heart, further deepening the family's pain. The media frenzy surrounding the case didn't help. With the public's curiosity came a barrage of misinformation. News outlets often sensationalized the situation, spreading rumors and offering theories that only added confusion to an already chaotic situation. The family became frustrated by the lack of genuine progress, while the noise around them only seemed to grow louder. In the midst of the confusion and false leads, a key piece of information finally emerged. A security guard working at the New Orleans Aquarium came forward with a statement that would change the direction of the investigation. According to the guard, he had seen a young woman who matched Ylenia's description in the French Quarter, where she was last seen. But what happened next was even more shocking. The guard reported that he had witnessed the young woman, presumed to be Ylenia, walk toward the Mississippi River, shouting that she belonged to the water. Without any hesitation, she plunged into the river, swimming into the fast-moving current. The guard claimed she swam for a while, struggling against the current, and at one point she cried out for help. This testimony brought a new sense of urgency to the case. The search shifted to the Mississippi River, as authorities tried to piece together what might have happened. The idea that Ylenia may have jumped into the river willingly seemed absurd, yet the security guard's account was credible. Was this the end of the search, or was there still hope? The Coast Guard launched an extensive search, but no sign of Ylenia's body was ever recovered. The case grew even more mysterious, and the family began to face the harsh reality that they may never know what truly happened to their daughter. But in their hearts, they couldn't accept the idea of her being gone forever. As the years passed without answers, the emotional toll on Albano and Romina became unbearable. The pain of losing their daughter was compounded by the constant uncertainty and the inability to find closure. Each day felt like an endless waiting game, with the family clinging to hope that, one day, they would have answers. But with each passing year, the hope began to wane. Albano and Romina's marriage, once full of love and unity, began to crumble under the weight of their grief. Their differing views on Ylenia's fate drove a wedge between them. While Albano slowly came to accept the possibility that his daughter might be gone forever, Romina refused to let go of the belief that Ylenia was still alive, somewhere out there. The divide between them deepened, and their pain became even more isolating. The public nature of their heartbreak didn't help. The media often reported on their strained relationship, further fueling rumors and public scrutiny. Their grief, compounded by the pressures of their fame, led to a breaking point. By 1999, Albano and Romina had separated, and their divorce was finalized in 2000. It was a painful and public end to a once beautiful love story, but despite their separation, neither Albano nor Romina ever truly moved on from the loss of Ilenia. The sadness remained, lingering in the background of their lives as they both tried to navigate life without the daughter they so deeply loved. The years after the divorce were filled with tension and emotional strain. Albano and Romina could not agree on what had happened to their daughter. Romina remained convinced that Ilenia was still alive, even after so many years without a single piece of evidence to support that belief. She held on to the idea that her daughter was somewhere, waiting to be found. Albano, on the other hand, became more resigned to the idea that Ilenia was gone. He couldn't bear the thought of constantly chasing an impossible dream. As much as it pained him, he believed that it was time to accept the reality of the situation and move on. But Romina wasn't ready to let go, and this divide between them only grew over time. Romina's refusal to believe in the worst led her to take increasingly desperate measures. She turned to mediums and psychics, hoping that someone could provide the answers that the police and detectives had failed to find. These attempts to contact the beyond only served to drain her emotionally and financially, as she was preyed upon by fraudulent individuals claiming to have information about Ilenia's whereabouts. Despite the emotional toll it took on both of them, the conflict over their daughter's fate became an obstacle in their healing. Albano and Romina were at odds, not only with the idea of Ilenia's disappearance, but also with each other. The pain of losing their daughter was still fresh, but it was now compounded by the bitterness between them. After years of animosity and painful distance, Albano and Romina experienced an unexpected reunion in 2014. It had been more than 15 years since they had last spoken with any kind of kindness, but through the passage of time and the eventual acceptance of their shared grief, the two former partners found a way to reconcile. Though they were no longer a couple, they decided to reunite as friends. Their shared history, their children, and their mutual love for music brought them back together on stage. They began performing again, visiting countries together and celebrating their past, not as a romantic couple, but as two people who had endured unimaginable loss and found a way to heal in their own way. Their fans were thrilled to see them back together, even if it wasn't in the way they had hoped. The pair's music once again connected with people, but now it was a different kind of connection, a more peaceful and accepting one. They no longer carried the same bitterness that once defined their relationship, and their performances reflected that. But despite their newfound peace, the sadness of Ilenia's disappearance remained with them. It was something they would both carry for the rest of their lives, no matter how much time passed. Even today, the mystery of Ilenia Carisi's disappearance remains unsolved. Rumors and false leads continue to surface, with people still claiming to have information about her fate, but the truth remains elusive. In 2014, after 20 years of no contact, Ilenia was officially declared dead. Romina, however, never lost hope. She still believes that her daughter is out there somewhere, alive. Her faith has never wavered, and she continues to share her story, keeping the search for Ilenia alive in her heart. In 2021, she posted an emotional message on social media, asking anyone with information to come forward. Romina's determination to find Ilenia, to believe in the impossible, is a testament to the enduring power of a mother's love. As the years passed, advances in forensic science began to change the way cases like Ilenia's were investigated. DNA testing, improved missing person protocols, and enhanced technology gave hope to those still seeking answers. For a time, it seemed that every new scientific development would bring a breakthrough in the case of Ilenia Carisi. But frustratingly, it did not. New theories about what might have happened to Ilenia emerged as more information became available. Some believed that her disappearance was part of a much larger conspiracy, while others speculated that Ilenia had joined a religious cult, or perhaps was living under a new identity. Each theory, although fueled by hope, remained unproven, and none could provide the closure that Albano and Romina so desperately sought. One particularly chilling development occurred when a notorious American serial killer claimed responsibility for Ilenia's death. He told police that he had picked her up while she was hitchhiking and had murdered her that same night. The police investigated his claim thoroughly, examining a body found in 1996 that could have been Elenia's. However, DNA tests revealed that the body wasn't hers, which left the family feeling both relieved and devastated. Relieved that Elenia wasn't the victim of such a brutal fate, but devastated that they were still no closer to the truth. Despite these developments, the mystery surrounding Elenia's disappearance remained unsolved. Forensic science had not brought the closure that so many hoped for. As the years went by, many began to wonder whether they would ever know what truly happened to Ilenia Carisi. Ilenia's disappearance did not just affect her family, it impacted an entire generation of fans, as well as the public's perception of celebrity and privacy. Albano and Romina's journey through the tragedy of losing their daughter became one of the most talked about stories of the 1990s, particularly in Italy. The media was relentless in its coverage, often painting the couple's grief as a spectacle. For many, Elenia's case became more than just the story of a missing young woman. It symbolized the larger struggles of parenting, loss, and the helplessness that so often accompanies unanswered questions. People from all walks of life related to Albano and Romina's pain, even if they couldn't fully understand the complexities of their situation. In the years following Elenia's disappearance, there was a growing conversation about the safety of young people, especially those traveling alone. Elenia's story raised important questions about the dangers that young adults face in the world, especially when they venture into unfamiliar environments without considering the risks. The tragic nature of her disappearance became a cautionary tale for others, reminding people of the vulnerabilities that can come with independence and the value of staying connected to loved ones. The case also raised awareness about how the media treats families in grief, particularly public figures. The relentless pressure of public scrutiny made it even harder for Albano and Romina to heal, yet they became symbols of resilience for many who admired their strength and courage in the face of overwhelming adversity. While the mystery of Elenia's disappearance remains unresolved, her story has left behind significant spiritual lessons that continue to resonate with those who follow her case. For Albano and Romina, their journey has been one of unshakable love, but also of profound sorrow. Elenia's case has shown them, and us, the delicate balance between hope and despair. The lessons from Elenia's story touch on the power of faith, resilience, and the human capacity to endure through even the darkest of times. Romina's refusal to believe that her daughter is gone is a powerful testament to the strength of a mother's love. Her unwavering hope, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, speaks to the deep well of faith that we all carry inside us. Her ability to believe in the impossible, to keep searching even when there seems to be no hope, reflects a deep spiritual connection to her daughter that transcends the physical world. At the same time, Albano's acceptance of the possibility that Elenia may be gone forever highlights the difficult but necessary task of letting go. There are moments in life when we must release what we cannot control, even as we continue to hold space for love and hope. Elenia's story is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we have the power to find peace, through love, through faith, and through acceptance. This tragedy also teaches us about the importance of cherishing every moment with those we love. Life is unpredictable, and we never know when the people closest to us might be taken away. Elenia's disappearance reminds us to value every second we have, to live fully, and to keep our loved ones close, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Despite everything, the years of uncertainty, the painful search, the false leads, and the heartache, Romina's hope remains unbroken. She has never stopped believing that Elenia is out there somewhere, still alive. Her faith in this belief has been unwavering, even when the world around her has tried to convince her to let go. Romina's dedication to her daughter has manifested in many ways over the years, from her emotional social media posts asking for any information about Elenia, to her continued search for answers. She has made it clear that she will never give up. Her message is one of love, determination, and the unshakable belief that a mother's bond with her child can never be severed, not even by death. Romina's hope also speaks to a larger truth about the human spirit, the power of belief. Even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary, Romina has held firm to the idea that she will one day find her daughter. Her tenacity and faith have inspired many, showing that sometimes the greatest strength lies in our ability to keep going, even when the road ahead seems impossible. Through all the heartbreak and the years of searching, Romina's message is clear. As long as there is breath in her body, she will never stop looking for Elenia. Her love for her daughter will always fuel her search, no matter how long it takes. As we reflect on the story of Elenia Carisi, we are reminded of the deep connections that bind us to the people we love, the unrelenting pursuit of answers, and the ways in which grief shapes our lives. The search for Elenia Carisi may never have a resolution, but the lessons learned from her family's journey are invaluable. Elenia's story is one of love and loss, of faith and acceptance, of hope and despair. It shows us that, even in the face of tragedy, we have the ability to rise, to keep going, and to hold on to the love that never dies. Albano and Romina's journey is a powerful reminder that no matter the pain we may endure, the love we share with those who are gone remains eternal. While the mystery may never be solved, the emotional and spiritual lessons of Elenia's case will continue to resonate with those who have followed her story. It teaches us the importance of love, the power of hope, and the enduring nature of the human spirit. And for Romina, as long as there is breath in her body, the search for her daughter will never end.